Hey there, folks. Karshel here. Welcome back. If you recall from our last episode, we did a little bit of mining because the vendor was out of leather. Um, Discovered that because of the mods that I have installed, which I will link in the description, that the mining nodes I had been using were no longer there, and instead there were copper nodes that were in place. Kind of screwed me up a little bit, but for the most part, it doesn't make that big of a difference at this stage of the game because I haven't constructed a base around specific nodes saying, hey, I need these to be here. So we just went out and did some mining because the vendor was out of leather. We ended up picking up the leather. Flick is now back to work. Dular has some books that he can use for research, but he is holding off on that because if I get one more book when the vendor resets, I will be able to do the Tier 3 research bench, which will open up many further opportunities. Also, when we were out last time, Victor was feeling pastoral and went and talked to this goat. That was a very surprising development. I'd never ran across this before, but when he talked to the goat gave him milk. Now, the milk does not seem to have a basic food value at this point, but it can be used for cheese and banana milk. Since I have never actually seen that happen before, I didn't sell it. I might eventually do that because hey, that's 1,200 cats. But more importantly, the goat is now following Victor around. Now there's no opportunity to talk to it at this point, but highlighting over the cheese or over the goat milk, it says that every 2 days you can milk the goat. If he keeps following me around, that just became another potential source of income. If you can get 6 milk at 300 cats each from a goat that just randomly is following you around, it's like, okay, that's kind of strange, but I'm certainly not going to complain about it. So we're going to see if the goat hangs out or not. Meanwhile, while Flick is working, I'm going to go back out and do some more mining. So at this point, I'll probably kick up the speed again so you don't have to be subjected to that. And hopefully the goat is still following. Yes, it is. All right, good little goat. It changes the whole aspect. I thought that basically goats were only useful for harvesting for meat, but it seems that I was misled on that respect. But never having actually had one, I was purely guessing anyway. And yeah, he's only following Victor, so I find that humorous. So every now and then we'll have to hover over him and see if that green arrow changes into a dialog box. I'm going to assume that that means at that point more milking could be done. I don't know if it'll reach a point where he suddenly just decides to wander away again. But it does almost make me wish that I had a farm. I wonder if you can assign a job to someone of taking care of a goat. No, I tried the shift click and it doesn't do a thing, so. But it does give me an incentive to look at purchasing goats once I actually do get into a fortified stronghold area. Although now I'm also wondering if that's a mod thing. I'm going to have to actually look into the mods a little bit closer and read up on them. And mostly I am doing this just to allow the vendor to reset, so we'll keep going all night out here, and when it hits, say 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, we'll head back into town and see if there is more leather, additional books, so that we can research the bench 3, And then I probably will need to pick up steel plates, I think, to build the Tech 3 bench. But for the first time now, and in part it's because of the mod and these copper nodes that are here, whereas I was used to iron, you know, cash fund, I'm not hurting at all by my standards. Okay, shutting up till morning. Okay, heading back into town now. The goat has still not registered anything other than the green arrow, but I'm still hoping. Come on, boys. I'm still chuckling about that fool goat. That was a completely unexpected development. Hey, more goats. Wait. Okay, can't talk to any of them. That would have been a bonus. Of course, maybe the goat could have talked to them. Said, hey, you want to hang out with these folks? Yeah, I know, I'm reaching. Okay, and we got more leather, and we got more books. So I'll be able to do the Tech 3. Iron plates I'm going to need, and I know that. So I'm going to buy all of the ones that he had there, too. And I might as well get the fabric. Okay. And is everybody happy? Yeah, looks like there's a body to loot on the way back. Dead. Yep. Bird. Karshel looted. Thank you. No, I ought to keep that crossbow. Start learning how to use one. Okay. So back over here. Victor, I think you've got it. So you put those in. Flick's back to work. Good girl. Fabric is almost at capacity. Okay, and come over here, bring that up. Books are in place. Dular. Wait a minute, didn't I just put books there? Okay, thought I did. There I did. Now back to Dular. Yes, books are in place. First and foremost, tech level 3. I also want medium building shells because when I go out and actually build a outpost, that will help. And that sucked up all my bucks. Okie dokie. Yep, coat's still green arrow. And let's look at what Flick has produced. High grade. And look at that sale price. 16.39 cats, whereas standard grade is only 7.45. This is where the profit starts to turn. She is getting skilled enough, not completely to eliminate the shoddy stuff, which does not pay for itself, but to not only make standard most of the time, but to occasionally get higher. The most of what she put out was standard that time. So profit margin is definitely going up. And what's she wearing, just out of curiosity? Because she always puts one on too. Another standard. Okay, how much room do you have, CP? So we'll load him up. And we will load Karshel up. Well, really can't. Can put this up there, and I think a little one more. And Celestial Paladin can't wear a helm. Victor's already got one. Victor, get over here. Your turn. I think I want to put that up here. Whoops. Waiting for the autosave. There we go. Okay. And trade with Flick. Take hers too. Those are all going to get resold. Sorry for the phone. Feel free not to answer. One of those frustrating devices that you almost need to have, but truth be told, to me, it really does not seem to be of much use. Okay, and got 6 more of the goat's milk. So that can either be used as a source of income or a source of ingredients for the food. I like that. Okie dokie, let's trade. I can't keep everybody near. Yeah, at this point, I haven't even sold off everything that I've had, and I'm already up to 11,000 cats. So we're doing fairly well, money-wise. I am not going to sell that crossbow because that's standard grade. That's fairly good. At this point, I have made no effort to learn how to use one. But I think that that's going to be worthwhile to have. And there's more leather and more books. That kind of surprises me. So, buy those. And more iron plates, buy those. I don't think that we were down there long enough for the vendor to reset, so I'm very surprised to see those additional items. But who am I to complain? And now, since the goat was melted by Karshel this last time, I believe that's who it's following. Uh-oh, it got stuck. It did, it got stuck. Oh well, life goes on. Okay, Karshel. Put those in there. Did I buy fabric? Or did I not buy fabric? I did not. Okay. And research bench 3, I believe, is done. Plus I have more books. Oh, there's the good. Okay. Let's put them in. Actually, let's not, because research level 3 has been completed. Let's instead click on the bench, and it gives you the option to upgrade rather than doing a full rebuild. I didn't know this in my earlier runs. As you may have noticed, sometimes I miss things, and I'm still learning about the game. So we're just going to do an upgrade, and we need 10 iron plates. CP had some, Karshel had some. So between the two of them, we should have enough to get this up and running for bench 3. I'm going to have to figure out what it takes to move engines. That could be entertaining. It would certainly be nice to have a food source that was just that easy to come across. Okay, we had enough iron plates, so that is going to be up and running as soon as we get done with the actual build time here. And then we will have to see what kind of items having a tech level bench 3 allows us to get into. Being that we can do that safely from here in town and not have to worry about raids or bandits or anything else getting involved, to me is a really good peace of mind aspect. Okay, let's take a look at this. Tech level 4 bench requires ancient science books, of which I have not yet seen. I have read that they can be found in various locations, but that they are not common. I certainly have not seen them on a vendor. I have also read that they can be occasionally found on a vendor. I just haven't found them so far. Large building shells. Engineering Research 1. Okay, I haven't run across that either that I recall. But that would give me more buildings to actually construct a stronghold with. Not critical at this point. Heavy building foundations. Again, engineering research. Not something that's critical at this point. What do we got for training aspects? Assassin training, lockpick training upgrades, turret training upgrades, advanced training dummies, which will allow me to take my skills to 15. That would be very useful. Thievery training, again, very useful. Turret training 3. For anybody that's going to be involved with using crossbows or ranged weapons or base defense, that would also be very important. So having the next level bench is making a huge difference. A lot of upgrades as far as smithing, crossbow crafting, heavy weapons, splints, plate armor. I have not tried it, but I would assume that you could do the same thing with plate armor that I am now doing with the leather armor. Possibly the ingredients would be a little bit harder to acquire, but I would think that it would still work. Ore drills, steel bar, automated benches, Automated mining. Well, that could be handy. Farming. Do I see anything on here on cheese? I do not at this point in time. Food cube going. What about regular cooking? Okay, cheese falls under regular cooking. That makes this potentially worth doing because I actually have, at least at the moment, a source of milk. Now, does it take anything else? I have no clue. But I think that I will be researching that just to find out. Let me see. Under defense, a lot of wall defenses, increased walls, defensive walls 2, gate 2, big defensive walls. Okay, those would all be really handy for once I do start doing a base. Robotics. That could be very handy to have as well. Requires the ancient science book, so until I see those, it's kind of irrelevant. Okay, Karshel, I believe, had books, or was it Celestial Paladin? Yeah, it was Karshel. Okay. Give it up, brother, give it up. There we go. And Dular. Show the research. And was it under farming the cooking was? It was, which does the cheese. We're going to spend the book on that and see just what happens with that. Potentially, I could also pick up other cooking ingredients from that same vendor and work on doing chew sticks or gohan or meat wraps or who knows. And those could also possibly sell for a profit, which would again just make gearing up this initial group that much easier. Imprisonment I have mixed feelings about. Now with these people that you see fighting in the street and knocking each other unconscious, if I had a prison set up, I could actually bring them up, put them in cells, and use them as training dummies, which would also increase my melee defense, not just the melee attack. But I don't know that I'm willing to do that yet. It just does not seem appropriate. Yeah, granted, it's a game, I can do whatever the heck I want, but, you know, I'm going to have to reconcile myself to that one. Desert cooking. Do I really want to get into cooking? I don't know, part of me does, part of me doesn't. At the moment, I can buy enough food that it's not a huge issue, so training might be more useful. Advanced training W, skill to 15, okay. That is more important. Boy, that sucked up every book that I had. I didn't even look at that. Okay, well, anyway. We're up and running on that. Let's see. Yep, still green arrow. Not ready to be remilked. Victor. Build a campfire. Now, I do not recommend this for kids at home. Do not build a campfire in your house. But this is a game and it works. So, Karshel. I don't even know how to go about doing this. Is there an option for cooking? There is not. So, do I need like a stove or something? Ancient Science Book Bench. For making Ancient Science requires 10 books, 20 sheets of paper. I am assuming that paper comes from trees, which means having planted trees out there somewhere, and that's a long way off. So that's not necessarily useful. Food. Cooking stove. Power consumption, -2, 2 iron plates, where you can prepare all kinds of food. Okay, bread oven is just for bread. Grain silo is for converting flour, or converting wheatgrass into flour, which you can then use for bread, so that's not it. I'm going to try a stove. Although, just come click on this folder. Whoops. Gotta exit the build menu. Raw meat, dried meat. Okay, it doesn't give me an option to do anything with the milk at that point. So that is not what I wanted. Is anybody carrying raw meat? I don't think so. But... oh, you are. Good man, Victor. Get over there and work the fire. Okay. Get back there before you get burnt. Do we have any iron plates left? No, we do have a couple of them left. So let's look at doing that cooking stove and see if that makes a bit of difference. Confirm it. Yay! Go make that. Don't burn your butt on the fire. Could have turned that around, I suppose. Input, output. Q. Cheese. Goat milk. That's all it takes? Okay, you're saying empty. Repeat Q. Okay. And it can handle 5 at a time, it looks like, because that one it did not take. What about this? Because I'm not on pause, and the progress bar is not moving. So something tells me I need that. Q. Cheese. Food processed with goat milk. Ingredients. Goat milk. Does it also require some type of fueling? Since this is redded out, I'm wondering if that's the case. So, I'm going to go look for fuel. At this time of night, the general goods store is closed, so I don't think that's going to be an option. What do we got? Water, rum, water. I'll buy those anyway. And all the other vendors are closed. So I'm just going to run to the other bar, which I'm sure probably will not have fuel. But I'll buy out their meat too. And again, just water. So I have to wait till the vendors open and see if there's a fuel thing. Never having dealt with the stove before, it looks like that's what's needed. I wish that it would actually say that, but that's an assumption I can make. I have seen like barrel things like this of fuel in various places, but never had anything that required me to use it. Goat's still doing okay. Well, I suppose I could go out and mine, but it's only going to be like 2 hours. So I'll just fast forward through it for you folks. Actually, I'll jump back in here. While I'm waiting, I might as well see what kind of things Flick has produced. I think she's probably out of leather again. She is. Okay, what you wearing? Standard grade again. So, trade with Karshel. Because you're losing that. Nothing personal. And Karshel, what do we got in the box? Ooh, good stuff. Well, some good stuff. Some shoddy, some standard. it will get to the point where what she puts out is consistently better. But either way, for the most part, it's going to pay for itself already. There we go. Now the vendor should be open, so let's run down there and see if we got any fuel. That goat just makes me chuckle. Okie dokie. So what's that? That's water. I'm not seeing anything that looks like it would be fuel. Luxury goods, what in the world for? Are those just like a trade thing? I don't have a clue at this point. Okay, I see no fuels. So I don't know how to get a stove up and running. If someone knows that, just in case I have not jumped into research mode and went and found that, please clue me in. And I think that that's all I need. Again, feel free to ignore the phone. Most of the time I do. Sadly, I'm not sure how you can actually avoid it, but the scammers and salespeople never stop calling. And I don't necessarily know why, because I don't live in a particularly affluent zip code. I never give them the satisfaction of actually even answering the phone. It goes straight into voicemail. If they don't leave me a message, they don't ever hear from me. But with the robocallers nowadays, I don't think they care all that much. Okay, and now Flick should be able to get back to work. And over here, dump those books. That's all that town had. I guess I'll have to put fuel on my list of things to keep an eye out for. And Flick is back to work. There's definitely a graphic glitch involved with that. If you notice, she's over here working where there is no bench. Hopefully the developers will work on position just a little bit better. Now at this point, I don't need to go out and mine. I don't really need to even pay attention. I can go AFK and allow her to do her thing, come back, sell the proceeds, and just wait for the vendor to restock. So after you've reached a certain point, you are set up and you can just sit and build up a cash reserve. That's probably what I'm going to let this do for a while and run, and then I will jump in when I either do additional recruiting or decide to go out and actually scout for a location or something along those lines. But for now, thank you for joining me. Please feel free to comment, like, share the video with anybody that you think would enjoy this type of gameplay. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you here on the next one. Karshel out. Jumping in here quick, just looking at the research time requirement that has suddenly hit. I don't know if it's because he's in there working in the dark, but 275 hours for defensive walls, 366 hours for crossbow strings, 100 hours for mounted crossbow. I'm thinking it's because he's working in the dark, and working in the dark slows things down. Okay, yep, look at it. The time is just dropping off now that the sun is coming up. I'd never seen that before, so I wanted to make a note. Indoor lighting does matter, so I might be building some lights in here in the near future.